Welcome everyone to Walkathon Wednesday. This week we are in the southernmost part of Los Angeles in a coastal community called San Pedro. I figured last week we had finished up the valley in the northernmost part of the city, so I thought let's do a complete 180 and head all the way to the South Bay. So that's where we are today, and to give you some perspective, San Pedro is closer to Long Beach than it is to the part of LA that's actually designated South Los Angeles. We're about 23 miles south of downtown LA, and furthermore, we are about 50 miles, that's 50 miles from San Fernando, where we were last week. That gives you a glimpse of just how large Los Angeles is, because the areas around San Fernando, like Mission Hills that we walked through last week, also 50 miles north, but that's still considered part of LA's jurisdiction. That's part of LA City proper. So too is San Pedro. Much like other parts of the city, San Pedro did not start out being part of Los Angeles. It developed separately as its own community until 1909, when LA annexed it to become part of the city, along with the Harbor Gateway South. And so what we're going to see today is a very different cultural feel from the rest of the city. And this cultural feel is very focused on the port, it's very focused on the water, being a coastal community and being pretty far removed from the rest of the city, which it is. So I have been to San Pedro a couple times. It's a really cool vibe. I'm excited to share it with you today, so let's dive right in. San Pedro, though incorporated in 1888, had been a port since the early 1800s. By 1835, it was one of the most important ports on the West Coast. Through the 1900s, industries like fishing and oil drilling began centering around this port, generating significant economy for Los Angeles. This is the Vincent Thomas Bridge, the fourth longest suspension bridge in California. If you cross it and head east about 6 miles, you'll be in Long Beach. Oh yeah, and in addition to transporting cargo, this is also a major cruise terminal. If you're going on a day trip to Catalina Island, this is one of 3 ports you can leave from. This is the USS Iowa battleship. Built back during World War II in New York, this was among the last class of battleships, having served through 3 different eras. Today, you can explore the ship as it is a museum. There is also an escape room inside. While San Pedro was its own city in 1888, Los Angeles annexed it in 1909. To understand why, we need to backtrack a bit. While no longer functional, this was once LA's first railway, finished in 1869 by Phineas Banning. It allowed goods to be transported from the harbor into LA proper. During this time, industrialist Collis Huntington was set on making Santa Monica LA's official port, not San Pedro. But the LA Times swayed public opinion against this idea. In 1897, it was decided that the port would be in San Pedro. The issue was that in order to annex San Pedro, LA needed to connect contiguously to the town per California state law. That's why this narrow strip of land was annexed first, in 1906. Today, the harbor remains the premier attraction in San Pedro, with several points of interest as we have already seen. But there's more. This is the Los Angeles Maritime Museum, a former terminus for ferries crossing the channel. Today it hosts model ships and marine-focused historical exhibits. In front of me is the LA Fire Department local to San Pedro. Of course, all of this is on a walkable promenade that morphs into a boardwalk. This is the LA City Harbor Fire Department Museum. It's in one of the oldest surviving buildings in San Pedro. Now on 7th Street, we are going to move inland and explore San Pedro's historic downtown. A classic brick aesthetic, this village is a highly cosmopolitan area, but I would say it maintains a small town feel. From cafes to shopping and other unique venues, downtown has everything you'd expect, but in a setting very different from the rest of LA. I'm a little reminded of St. Petersburg, Florida right now. Indeed, much like St. Pete, there is a historic arcade converted into a business plaza here. Let's check it out. This is one of the coziest office and retail buildings I think I've yet seen. Definitely a hidden gem. Of course, what's a small town without a historic theater? Also, I know it's a Wednesday, but note how quiet this area is, even more so than parts of the valley. Oh my, it's been monkey approved. I love old-fashioned diners, so I plan on coming back here at some point. Looking west, these hills are part of the upscale Palos Verdes community that borders San Pedro. Looking north, we return to an aesthetic I'm all too familiar with in South LA. Much like sister cities, sister ports are also a thing. Here are some of LA's. This is the California Museum of Fine Art, very well hidden on 10th Street. Everywhere you turn, there is history. Each building has a story behind it. Heading back into the neighborhood, is cozy the right word here, or cramped? So we are still heading south, and I think you can see ahead there is a hill, and quite a significant slope, might I add. So I will be very intrigued to see what kind of views we get from up there. In the distance, you can now see the full expanse of the harbor. One thing I want to briefly highlight here that you may have noticed already, which is that the houses here are much smaller than even what we would find in South LA. So too are the yards. And you can see as we walk by a few of them here, these are very small, everything's very close together. And this actually makes some sense if you think about it, right? Because San Pedro is very geographically bound. You've got the Palos Verdes hills on the west, you've got the ocean on the south, and you've got the port and the terminals on the east. And so it makes sense then that they would be trying to squeeze as many houses and apartments as close together as they can. And so as a result of that, they would be a little bit smaller than you might expect. But also, imagine living up here and getting a panoramic view of the peninsula on a daily basis. In a lot of ways, I would actually say that San Pedro feels a lot more like San Francisco than it does Los Angeles. I mean, San Francisco is also bound by geography. It's a very physically small city, which has lent to its, upward vertical development. But it also has a lot of hills within the city itself. And so a lot of the buildings, residences, and otherwise are pretty close together, as we can see here as well. And you have a lot of historic architecture throughout that city in addition. Just a gorgeous view. And I'd be willing to wager that some of these streets are even steeper than the ones we saw in Silver Lake in Echo Park a couple months back. We have reached the top. What you're seeing in the distance, and I mean the far distance there, beyond the water, that's Catalina Island. We are at the southernmost part of Los Angeles. Overlooking the Pacific, this is the Korean Friendship Bell. This was a gift from Korea to the US, celebrating the bicentennial in 1976 and honoring veterans of the Korean War. The bell is rung on several holidays, and also the first Saturday of every month at 11:30 a.m. And what a view this is, but a photo can only describe so much. This is the Point Fermin Lighthouse of San Pedro. Built in 1874, it was the first navigational light in the San Pedro Bay. Now, it's time to head off the beaten path. This is Sunken City, San Pedro. Once the site of several beachside homes, a landslide in 1929 caused the destruction of this community. What remains are the ruins, most of which have been covered in graffiti. An urban playground that hides disturbingly well behind Point Fermin Park, you technically have to trespass in order to visit. It isn't open to the public, because the terrain is not exactly safe to traverse. It's like Slab City on the coast. A lawless place of mystery and intrigue, inviting discovery within destruction. Maybe that's what draws me here. I've always been one to favor the road less traveled. Trails of the Traveler tell the story of exploration, one not dictated by any particular set of rules, but rather by instinct. Conversely, the paved road tells us where to go and how to get there. It tells the story of civilization. Weaving through the seaside community, our walk has one more significant stop. While much of San Pedro's coast is characterized by charismatic cliffs, there is, in fact, a beach here too, and that would be Cabrillo Beach. Alright guys, that is going to conclude today's walk through San Pedro. Hope you have enjoyed. I am not dressed fittingly for the beach, so I'm not planning to go all the way out there tonight. But yeah, this was a very content-rich walk, and I tried to make it a little bit different, a little stylistically diverse, if you will. That's all I have for today, and I'll see you guys then.